Did you know that Nerdwallet does over a reported $100 million in annual revenue and their main channel is SEO? Well guys, if you want to be on the cutting edge of SEO this year, this video is for you. Hey guys, this is Clinton from the HOTH, and today in this video, I'm going to be breaking down the top 7 new strategies that Nerdwallet is using to get this explosive traffic. So let's hop over to my computer and we'll get right into it. Let me show you the first creative tactic that Nerdwallet's using to acquire links, and the first one is called ego bait. So ego bait is essentially when you go out there and you try to inflate someone's ego for the purposes of baiting them into giving you a link. And so here's an example of one of the articles that they wrote. So first they'll write an article called something like the best cities for quality of life, and they'll do some research and they'll show their key takeaways and whatnot. And then they'll come down here and they'll list all the cities that they have found, they've determined have the best quality of life. And then what they'll do is they'll reach out to these cities and say, hey, you know what, you just won this award for best cities for quality of life. And if you guys would like, when people get awards, they love to display those awards or talk about them. So a lot of times these sites will, link back to this article to say that they won this award. So let me show you some examples. So right here, this is Madison. This is the city homepage, and they won this award. And you can see here that they just said on their media rankings page, they said they're the #1. Actually, they must have won multiple awards. It says greenest city, but they also won another one that we're just talking about, the best cities for quality of life. See if I can find it. So nerdwallet.com right there. They got a link right there, and this is a cool page to get a link from. You can see this is a domain authority 47, so that's a pretty powerful domain, and a page authority 38, so also pretty decent page authority. So this is a pretty cool link to get, and you saw already that they had multiple going to nerdwallet.com. So Madison is not the only city that linked back to this article. We can see here this Overland Park. If I search Nerdwallet, it says Nerdwallet named Overland Park as one of the best cities for quality of life. You can see the link right there. And again, this is on a DA56, PA41 site. Here's another one. This is Lexington. See if we can find Nerdwallet on here. So you can see they actually got another one, best city for women in the workforce. But you can see best city for quality of life. Here's that link. So you can see that this strategy is pretty effective. They had all these different cities in here after they wrote this article. They reached out to them all, and they started getting links back from pretty high quality pages. So this was a great article for them in terms of ego bait, but this is not the only one that they've done. Here's another one. They said best small cities in America, and they created a ton of different best small cities over here, and they reached out to all these small cities, and then guess what they did? Here's an example of Owensboro, and if you scroll down here to the bottom, you can see that not only did they get a link, but Nerdwallet actually created a pretty cool badge for them to display. And you can see if I hover over this down the bottom, it says they got a link to nerdwallet.com right there. They went above and beyond, and they even created these badges that said 100 best small cities in the nation 2015. And they replicated this strategy. So they got a link on the homepage of owensboro.org, which is DA40 and a PA45. So it's a pretty powerful link right there, smack dab on the homepage. So I think this strategy was really effective, but they don't stop there. Nerdwallet has done this over and over and over. So you can see here they did best cities for young families in Southern California. And you can see here this is working. Best cities for young families, cities for job seekers. So yeah, they're getting multiple links for this article, and then they just continue. They do a ton of these kinds of things. So best places for young families in Northern California, best cities for a home ownership in California, best cities for job seekers. So they just keep replicating this strategy over and over, and it seems to work really well. So think about what kind of awards you could give, what kind of data you could collect, and try to ego bait some other sites into giving you a link back. It's pretty effective for link building purposes. All right, guys, let's go to the next tip. All right, so the second tactic that Nerdwallet's using is essentially as featured in links. And so what you want to do, or what Nerdwallet's doing in this case, is they are promoting different services, new products, new brands, all kinds of different stuff like that. And then when they're featured in this new brand is featured in Nerdwallet, a lot of times what they'll do is they'll say on their homepage, they will link back to Nerdwallet because being featured in Nerdwallet is kind of like a social proof signal. So here's an example. Nerdwallet went and they covered a business called Tabbed Out in this article called Table Talk Tech Boosts Restaurant Efficiency.
And so what they did is they covered this topic here, and then they talked about a brand called Tabbed Out. And then, so what happened after they did that, they reached out and then they said, hey, Tabbed Out, you were featured here in our publication when we wrote this article about you. And then Tabbed Out actually, see here on their site, and down here at the bottom, they wrote they are featured in Nerdwallet. It says, read what people have been saying about us. And it's got Nerdwallet right there. And it got a nice link right to this article. So you can see that this link is on a DA41, PA47 site. And so that's a pretty powerful link that they got right there on the homepage. So that's a pretty cool way that they are acquiring links. And you know, Nerdwallet covers tons of different new products, different new services, puts out tons of news, and they're getting lots of links when they feature other brands inside of the Nerdwallet blogs. Here's another example. It's a little bit of an offshoot of it, and essentially this is a page on Nerdwallet called Nerdwallet's Cost of Living Calculator. You come in here and figure out how much it costs to live in different cities, etc. And one of the links to this site is from right here. It's COLI. It is the cost of living index, and they provide a lot of the data for this tool. And you can see here, this is essentially like an as featured in link, and you can see it just went by there right there. Who uses COLI data? Nerdwallet, and it's got a nice link right to this cost of living calculator. So for this tip, think about what kind of products, services, any kind of news you could cover that people would be proud to be featured in your publication. Okay, and then reach out to them and give them a logo and say if you want to, you know, if you want to link to us and use our brand as social proof, that would be totally fine. And you can acquire some pretty cool links like that. All right, so my next tip from Nerdwallet is called content distribution. This is actually happening a lot with Nerdwallet. It seems like a lot of their backlinks come from this tactic. And content distribution essentially means taking content that you've already written on your site and distributing it to other sites, you know, that are authoritative. So here's an example of one of the sites that Nerdwallet has republished their own content on. So you can see here it's the Christian Science Monitor. This is obviously a very well-known site. It's a very powerful site. It's a domain authority 91, so it's a very, again, very powerful. And you can see here, you know, this is just an article that Nerdwallet had written. And down at the bottom, I know that it's actually been distributed because it says, this article first appeared on Nerdwallet. So you can see right here on Nerdwallet, this is where it originally appeared. Now, there's a lot of talk around if this is good, is it bad? I just wanted to show you that this is a tactic that Nerdwallet is actually using, and it's working very well for them. You know, people talk about, is this duplicate content? Is there canonical redirects? And so I don't want to speak for the whole strategy. I just wanted to point this out. But you can tell here in this article, for instance, there are quite a handful of links coming back to Nerdwallet. So here's one right here. Here's another one right here. There's lots of links inside of this article that link back to Nerdwallet and link back to, you know, very important pages, even review pages. For instance, like Betterment. Now I'm going to be using this Betterment page for the next few examples. So here is another example on ajc.com. And this is a news website, and this is another article that was distributed, you know, in terms of content distribution, that's what they call it. And you can see here they're linking back to Nerdwallet right here. And I know it's content distribution because it says, here we go, this article, Robo-Advisor Betterment adds a human touch, originally appeared on Nerdwallet. So they're taking the same content that they already have, and they are publishing it on other very authoritative domains with links back to their website. Okay, so hope you guys like that tactic. So the next tactic that I want to talk about is called guest posting. And you've probably heard of guest posting before, but Nerdwallet is pretty excellent at doing this. And this is a way that they acquire lots of links that boost up their pages. So here's an example. I'm still staying on the Betterment review page. This is a page that ranks very well for Betterment review. And I'm just showing you some of the links that come from it. So here is an example of a guest post that they've done. So you can see here, this author is named Cliff Goldstein. He says right here, he is a member of the personal finance team at Nerdwallet. It's got a nice fat link right there to it, to Nerdwallet. And here in this article, you know, he writes a bunch of different stuff, and he has a ton of links over to Nerdwallet. Like all these are links to Nerdwallet, so throughout the article. So that's what you can do. You can go out there and you can reach out to other types of sites that are in your niche, in your market, sites that make sense, create an author account or submit a post to them that's relevant to their audience, and then link back to your site within that article. It's a really great way to get links back to your site. We actually have a service that can do this for you. It's called HOTH Guest Post. And if you'd like some help with that, check it out. But this is a pretty cool strategy. Let me show you another example. This is clearly on MarketWatch.com. Here's another one where they did it on NASDAQ.com. You can see here that Nerdwallet has their own account on NASDAQ.com. And they're able to create these articles, and they can link back to their site. Right here's a link back to the site. Here's another link back to Nerdwallet. And it's pretty cool. So it says that Joseph Egowian, sorry, I don't know how to pronounce the name, is an investment writer on Nerdwallet. So essentially this is a guest post, right? Okay. So guest posting can be a really effective strategy. Go reach out to other sites, submit your articles to them, make sure that they're very high quality and they deliver value to the audience, and then link back to your site within those articles. All right, the next tip is to create content that naturally attracts backlinks. And so let me give you a few examples of the types of content that Nerdwallet's creating that are really good for attracting backlinks. A lot of these pieces of content are very linkable in the fact that they either have original research data in them and people use that data to prove a point, or it's a free tool where people can link to it as an additional resource, or it's some kind of long guide. There's lots of different ways you can create very linkable content, but I'm going to show you a couple examples. Here is one that Nerdwallet produced called How to Get a Small Business Loan in 5 Steps. And what this does is it's a nice guide that shows how you can get a business loan. It's a very popular topic. And so what ends up happening is that a lot of people link to this because it's a very valuable piece of content, very valuable piece of advice. And so when we look up this article, we can see here, by the way, this is the HOTH backlink checker. You can see here that this has 339 external backlinks. And it's pretty cool, people are just linking to this because it's a valuable piece of content, all right? By the way, big shout out to Ahrefs. A lot of the data from this presentation comes from Ahrefs. They're kind of investigating in there. And Ahrefs actually provides the data for this free tool that we have. So if you guys would like to investigate your competitors or see what's going on your website, you can always use the HOTH backlink checker to go and see what's going on behind the scenes. Okay, cool. Let me give you another example of a piece of content that creates or generates backlinks, or attracts backlinks, better said. So this is 2018 American Household Credit Card Debt Study. So what they did is they actually produced original data. They did a study and try to find out what's going on with credit card debt. They put together a lot of statistics and things like that. Pretty cool data. And so again, this is the type of content that would actually generate a lot of links. People citing this article, you can see that this one actually generated way more backlinks, 13,000 or 2,500 referring domains. Pretty great in terms of generating a lot of backlinks. So if you can produce some kind of original study or original data, it's a very good idea. You'll be able to get a lot of backlinks from that. So one last piece, let me show you real quick here. It's a little bit different. It's not really a piece of content in the traditional sense. It's not like an article or anything like that. This is a calculator, so it's a tool. Tools are another great way to generate backlinks because people, if it's very useful, people will link to it in their articles and whatnot. So here's one tool that they have. It's the House Affordability Calculator. You come in here and figure out how much you can afford based on your credit and whatnot. And then you can see here when I look this up in the backlink checker, this has 606 referring domains, so it's a really great page. It's got a lot of links coming back to it. So tools, if you could find a way to create a tool for your audience, a calculator, something like that, that could be another great way to attract backlinks. So this whole tip is about what types of content are going to naturally attract backlinks. So think about that and hopefully you can execute on it. So in these tips, we've actually been talking a ton about just how to get backlinks, but you guys realize that traffic is not all just about getting backlinks. Not every article needs to generate 1 million backlinks or whatever. Nerdwallet actually also produces content that's geared at social shares. So a lot of times with social, as opposed to it being a resource, what you want to do is find some kind of angle, find some kind of article that you can write that's either controversial or helps people be proud to share it because it backs up their own opinions, and it could be a great discussion point. So here's a few examples of pretty highly shared, these all have thousands and thousands of shares, highly shared articles that Nerdwallet has written. So you can see here this one has 9.5 thousand shares on Facebook, and this one's called 12 First-Time Home Buyer Mistakes and How to avoid them. So you can just imagine my mom sharing this with me, on Facebook, or people just sharing it around. So this article just kind of goes in and shows kind of some top mistakes: not figuring out how much you can afford. They also link to the calculators here, making a down payment that's too small. So anyway, this is a pretty shareable article. If you shared this with somebody, you would feel like you helped them. So this is a pretty cool example. Here's another one, a little more controversial: Millennials and home buying myths and realities. So this kind of goes and talks about the myths and realities of their study that they've done on millennials and home buying. So you can see how this could be a controversial topic. People would want to share it, they would want to talk about it, about their point, etc. And this has 15,000 shares on Facebook. So pretty crazy. Here's one more example of another one. I like this one because it's an inspiring story. One couple's journey from debt to $1.5 million in savings. So this is a very inspiring story. You can drive emotional connection with it, and so this is definitely something that would get shared on social. So think about in your industry, or around your industry, what kinds of stories you can tell, what kinds of controversial topics you could write on that not only are going to attract backlinks, but would also be geared at getting a lot of social shares. All right, guys, my last tip is to create best of class content. Some of Nerdwallet's top ranking, highest traffic pieces are actually revenue generating. Here's an example. One of the most valuable terms that they rank for is best credit cards. And you guys can see here's their page on best credit cards. Now, if you had a normal site, probably a lot of their competitors just have, a very simple list of, the best credit cards. But you guys can see here, it's January 2019 right now when I'm recording this video. And Nerdwallet's already updated their content. Best credit cards of January 2019. And you guys can see here, this is not just a simple article. This has a lot more features to it. So here's a bunch of credit cards. This is what it looks like when you first look at it. But right here at the top, it'll show jump to best offers for January, balance transfer, cashback, all these different types of credit cards. And that makes it a lot more interactive. So for instance, I could say, I want to travel a lot, and it's going to take me right to the travel section and tell me which credit cards are the best. Now, this is not the only thing. You guys can also hit read more. You can add to compare. And you guys can see here, it pops up right down here in the bottom. Maybe I'll compare 2 or 3 cards. Okay. Pretty cool. And then I can hit this and I can compare these cards. So this is like a very interactive page. So Nerdwallet is essentially going above and beyond. They have a very clean interface, but it's not just a list of different credit cards. They've actually organized it by category. They give you the ability to compare very easily. It's a very nice UI in terms of very readable. All the information is right there. So create this type of best-in-class content. Find other ways other than just maybe listing whatever you have to really get the reader from wherever they're at to where they want to go, and put them on that path. Okay, here's another one. Here's another example of how Nerdwallet kind of goes above and beyond in terms of their interactivity on their site to make the user experience way better. So you have the best savings account of 2019, and you guys can see here it's pretty similar. Show accounts that offer, and then you can select whatever feature that's really important to you. You can sort it by a different way. You can click the button to learn more. Again, this is a very profitable page for them, I'm sure, as these are all affiliate links going to these banks. But you can see how Nerdwallet kind of goes above and beyond, and they really describe what's going on each of these different offers. They have interactivity and whatnot. So think about ways you can take your content, make it best of class, make it by far the best piece of content online. And if you can do that, there's a good chance that you'll attract the right backlinks and the shares and everything you need to be able to rank.
All right, guys, hope you enjoyed that video. Make sure to leave a comment down below which of the 7 tips that you like the best. And if you like this type of video, make sure to hit that subscribe button as well so you can see a lot more of these. And if you want to learn about how the HOTH can help you with your SEO, just head over to thehoth.com. All right, guys, thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next one. Peace.